Well, welcome back to Livestream 52 Part 3. We had to stop earlier to fix some settings, and then a second ago, my computer just spontaneously decided to reboot. Out of the blue, the whole thing just shut down and restarted. I have no idea why. I don't know if anybody will be joining in back on the live stream, but I do wanted to record at least the last couple of feedbacks so those guys can get their information. Okay, so we had just finished with Peter Lucius' image, and we're opening up on Thon Tran. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, well, this machine isn't cursed. It's just old. It's old. That's why it's been replaced. I have a newer machine, but it's back in my house. And I dislike having to shut down everything, disconnect everything, put it in the car, bring it up here, set it all back up, connect it all up, do the stream, take it down, take it back, set it back up, reconnect everything. It's just a hassle. So I try to leave this one here, but this one's older and it can't hardly process everything that we need anymore. Okay, so this is, I don't know how you say your name properly, Thane, Mr. T. Okay, that's the wrong one. I need the layers palette. Okay, now, this is interesting. This is kind of cool. It is a bit high key for what we need. So I'm going to adjust the levels so we have that. So we can tell that this is high key. That is, it's very heavy on the light side. The white side, there's nothing darker than a medium dark. There's hardly anything darker than a medium. So we can do that and bring some values back into the piece. Boom. All right, cool. Some cool stuff going on. This angle sort of works for this image. You have beautiful curvy arch back here. Have the guy there. Figure here is okay. We can go along with this figure because he's in shadow. He's small. We don't see his face. You're treating him almost like a prop. And that's where it becomes okay, even on a creature scene. But if you were doing this for a studio or a company like MTG, then don't be surprised if they said, okay, let's take the figure out. That's not really what we're wanting. And it's kind of one of those on the middle. Maybe they'd go with it, maybe they wouldn't, depending. We got some of that stuff back there. Now, something we do have is that we've established that this is level, but we have the trees growing level to us, where we need the trees growing perpendicular to what we have as the tilted canvas. So make sure that those are following the proper alignment there. Also, we're looking up at this arch, which means that we should be seeing the underside. Oh, let me go back and get to this layer. We should be seeing the underside of it and the inside of this more. Maybe you have a little thickness there, but let's give that more body. Allow us to see the inside of that, and then we probably wouldn't see the inside of that one since it's going away from us that direction. And we talked about that earlier. This needs more work. I don't know what's going on there. So if it's stone, or at least put that on there, we have that side. We have it here, but if it's this big here, it should be like that big there, because that's a good deal further away from us, but it's thicker. So if we're going to keep that consistent, that needs to be about that wide over here, right? All right, so let's consider that. Just make sure that stays consistent. Think about if you want something else here. Maybe there's plants down here, or at least maybe there's you see some of the stonework. Maybe there are statues inset on the walls. That could be kind of cool. Maybe there's vines that hang down. He's got this really kind of lush spot. He's got like these beautiful vines that grow up here and along the sides and hang down. And that'd give you a little extra color and just break up the horizontals with some little, rough vertical shapes. And also just sizes of shapes. You have a lot of big shapes here, not very many little shapes or medium shapes, and that's something that would be good. Light. Coming down. This is probably going to be lit much better. We might have the light coming across something like that. He's going to cast some of that in shadow, so that can be lit. This needs to be brighter where it's catching sunlight. And maybe there's not really any reason that he wouldn't be catching light as well. You might just have a left side light, along there. But still, and that might even be better. Allows that to stand out a bit. So there's light catching there across that part, and then that's in shadow where he's casting his shadow on this stuff, and those become more silhouetted. That's fine. So yeah, this is a good scene. We are getting away from flower, petals. We just have hair. We have interesting hair, but this is hair. This isn't petal-based in some regard. So can we change it up? Maybe it's a combination of the two, if you want to go that way. Maybe we have like petals. Maybe it's like a petal and the hair comes out from underneath the petals. Like this way. And maybe has some thin, long petals that sort of break up through the hair. So consider what you want to do as far as that. Do we have many people join back in? It says I'm offline. Huh. I don't know if I'm offline or not. OBS says I'm streaming, but YouTube says I'm not. There we go. Okay, I think I just need to refresh it. Okay, that's better. Now we have the infinite loop of me there. Travis Earls up next. Okay. Travis Earls. Egyptian style. We got like some hieroglyphics. Yeah, the black with the gold, good combination here. We got like light stands. We got some gold here that he's collecting, light coming through that. You can probably guess what I'm going to say about some of this. He's a bit too small. We have a lot of space, and we have little guardian. So let's change that up a little bit. Fill that up. Also, we can throw some perspective on it, make the bottom of it a little bigger. You have heavy perspective on the walls, but we don't have any perspective on it. We're looking straight at it. So we want to perspectivize that. This is a really rough, short way of trying to throw perspective on there. So something like that. And if we're going to make him bigger, then we need to make this tail, it's a little too snake-like. It's so thin. Thin is fine, but if we're going to beef him up, let's also make sure we beef that up so that it stays reasonable. So something on that line. Stands are okay. We definitely need some work on this. I'm going to duplicate that, push that down, grab this. I'm just trying to grab mainly that green back there. Go. This. And can we use any of the references that we have? Let's say, can we grab this maybe? So even like that, that's more interesting. You know, putting that back there, and we just have some, you know, pillars and stuff. We get some trees like that. Obviously, it's not matching perspectives. I mean, we can try to match it up a little bit, make this a little smaller. Nope. Nope. Oh, for some reason, it's not letting me grab those individually. So yeah, you know, figure out what you want to do with the background. It's going to be a big piece of your image. So yeah, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to add something to it? Something on that line, you know, could work well if you want to make it, you know, extra green and really sell the color difference between the two of them. That's fine. We can do that. But oftentimes when you're trying to make something look extra green and life, it's actually about adding a bit of yellow or a bit of red, warming up the green, makes it feel more inviting. And they actually found that in Lord of the Rings. In the scenes of The Hobbit, they wanted to feel very vibrant and homey. And they kept adding green into the scene with the color grading. And it didn't look right. It looked fake. It looked wrong. And they had to figure out that they needed to decrease the amount of green in the grass and the trees and increase actually the amount of orange. And it gave it more of this tone, which is this warm, kind of cozy feeling. And in order to make it feel more abundant and more green, they actually had to decrease the green. It's a curious thing. But yeah, it's one of those things I picked up, thought it was cool. So something on that lines would be good. Figure out what you want there. The rest of this, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Again, on the steps, maybe coming up with something slightly more interesting on the steps. These are basic steps. Even just having a little side thing on the step that comes down would be more interesting. Or can you round out the middle parts of the steps? Something like that. Or can you have it tiered so that maybe there's angles on the sides and then the front is straight across? On the arch, this is super basic. Can we do anything else also to make that maybe a little more interesting? Can it come down to the bottom and maybe it juts out? So it's like a little more supported on the bottom part. This is a really simple line. So we just want to do that, and then maybe it gets up to a higher point and it has wider, you know, wider blocks at the top. You know, let's just start. Let's start finding more interesting shapes for the ones you have. And you've done it fine, which is you start with the simple ones, establish it with the simple ones, and then refine it with smaller, more interesting ones. All right, the last one up, and you've waited a long time, William. We're almost 4 hours in. I mean, yeah, almost 4 hours in, which is longer than I meant to be here, but yeah. Okay. Oh, we actually have a little figure down here with some gold. Okay. Got this guy. Okay, a lot going on here. I like the I like the little spot that he has. You have these steps are kind of worn away, but they're, you know, I've got this step pathway coming up. No, brush. Give me the brush. Brush. All right. So you've got that here. You got this little pool of water. You got a little waterfall. It's cool. Got the archway back there. You got this guy hanging out. So what do we want to do? We need to get rid of this light. It's super bright, and again, it's kind of on the nose. It's this sort of solution. Boom, light. Like, no, show me the thing that's being lit. Don't show me the light beam. If you do a light beam, it needs to be like this. Subtle. It's 10% of what you have. If it is a statue, then we need to make sure it's really more of a statue. Make sure you're referencing statues. And probably not, I don't know why they would be falling right on top of a statue. You might want to offset that a little bit. That's a little odd placement to have a statue right underneath the waterfall perfectly. So we can have this dark. And then what that does is actually puts more attention on him, because the brightest thing in the image is now him instead of that. But you can still have, you know, light catching the tops of some of this stuff. It can still be lighting some of this stuff, but show me what the light hits, not just the light. And we also need not just an interesting creature, which is interesting. It's got some good shapes. The antlers, the wide ears, the long face, those are all nice. The high things, I don't think those are second ears. But this just looks like a fuzzy mess. And we need to find more, again, flower shapes, petal shapes in this. Continue, I guess what that is. Down here, we need this to be more defined. And this is something else, too, that if you're submitting a sketch and it needs to get approval before continuing, then put the focus on the thing that the attention was supposed to be on. We spent a lot of time, we even rendered frogs down here. We rendered birds. We rendered, you know, more anatomically correct body. But the one distinguishing thing about this, which is the golden mane, is just rough. It's fuzzy. It's just, okay, it's there. But when I look at this as your art director and your art teacher, I don't know what that is. It's just, yeah, it's just a bunch of lines. So, this is good, this is good, this is good. Well, let's get this good too. Let's see. Yeah, it feels like that's a person. So that really needs to be fixed to being a statue. And you might want to move the waterfall over so it's not a waterfall like right on them. Yeah, again. The birds, let's leave the birds. The birds look fine in the drawing, but maybe use it to break from the edge. So right now, it basically sits right within the edge of this part, where it would be nice to have them kind of breaking over from the shadowed area into this area. Then that would even be a good way that you could put some light on them as they're coming into that light beam, right? So keeping the same sort of thing, but just adjusting their placement. With not having any indication of what the woods are behind him. So can we get some more definition of that? That's also the sort of thing that you would want to put a little more attention on, since it's one of the things that was called for in the brief. Let's see, something on that line. I like the warm colors. That's pretty cool. Again, the pool is neat. maybe clean up the steps a little bit. It seems, yeah. And you can have like some of them, it's just kind of spilled over. The dirt sort of filled it up. And the steps aren't real defined, but let's define a couple of the steps a little bit more. Just in a couple of different places, so that we can get the idea that that's steps and not just a piece of rock or mud that's coming down there. Clear that up. The use of this blue cool light, love it, love it. Probably play into that more. All of this stone stuff, especially if it's wet from the haze of the waterfall. Waterfall haze, more waterfall haze. Waterfall haze is catching the light. Yep, cool stuff. And then we got this beautiful blue cool light from on the hard wet rocks back there. A little bit back in here. Yeah, that you got a nice scene, man. Yeah, go that way. Yeah, let's just take out the sunbeam. We can have the light lighting up some beautiful stuff down here. It's okay if the light is directly hitting something that's wet at the right angle. I mean, it can just really shine bright. That's okay. We don't want to burn out too much of the image, but you know, water will really have specular lights. So it can be catching some of that stuff. And then some of the stuff that's wet up here too. Maybe it's catching some of that too. And he's just sitting there enjoying his little perch. So yeah, good stuff, William. I like it. Let's make sure that we put our attention on the stuff that needs to be done first. And on the painting process, that might be a good way to approach it, is figuring out what is most important. Like, we got to get the forest, we got to get the main, and we've got to adjust that light. And once all the major stuff is done, then we can put time into like painting the frogs and stuff. Yeah. Okay, well, I wish this wasn't going to have to be 3-part video, but I guess I could pull them all off and edit them together and reload it, but I doubt I will. That's a decent amount of work. Here we go. Anything else I need to go over? You have 2 weeks in order to submit in the final. Next week, I will announce if and when there will be a stream. There is a possibility. I keep wanting to get out of town for a little bit. I haven't been out of town for a while, and I want to get out of town. But yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know. If I'll be in town, we'll be doing a stream. It might be in the later time, and probably doing like a paint over. Maybe we'll do portfolio reviews. I don't know. We'll play with it. If you want to get in on voting for the next Patreon, which is either improving your image video, these are all videos, improving your image, painting process step by step, or the workflow and tips of the D&D characters, painting them, then make sure that you're a patron. I'll put it out on the Patreon page. I'll try to think to do it tonight. If not, I'll do it tomorrow. So I don't see any final questions, so I think we're good for now. You can always get more feedback from the rest of the community out on the Swatches Facebook group. So if you want to make some changes over the course of the next 2 weeks, put it out there, get some feedback from them. If I see it and I have time or think to, leave some feedback, I try to, but I don't get a comment on everybody's stuff. There's a lot of posts that go out there nowadays. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for joining the challenge, and until you see you next time, keep drawing.